Okay, I'm Botao Qin from Xi'an Jiaotong University, Jinhe Center for Economic Research. Okay, I thank you, the organizer, for organizing this workshop, and I'm very honored to present it at the workshop. So today my topic is time preference and the intergenerational attitude on climate change. Uh, this was a project I've done, I think, around 2 years ago. The last year, I presented the main findings of this project, and this year we did some more research on the same project. So we explore the data and we find some new findings. So I'd like to present the results here. So this is a joint work with let's say two of my students, Junjia Zheng and Che Xiaoqin. Okay. Okay, here's the outline of my topic. First, I will introduce the motivation, and then about the experimental design, and then the data and the descriptive statistics, and then the results, and then I will conclude. So what's the motivation of this project? I'm an environmental economics, so I'm very interested in studying the climate change. As we know, this is very urgent and one of the most important environmental problems we're facing today. And however, we know like IPCC, the United Nations, they organize the conference on climate change talk each year. However, we all know that the progress is very slow, and the countries there are not enough efforts to mitigate climate change. Okay, there are many reasons. Okay, one of the reasons we know the climate change mitigation is a public goods, and there are free riding problem, the well-known free rider problem, and I think and another uh, problem with another problem is the climate change. The consequences were mostly felt by the future generation, and today's generation lacks enough motivation. Okay, because of the so because of the I think because the time preference or the discount rate, we tend to discount the future benefits. Okay, so our questions, research is questions. We want to know, do people with higher discount rates, they care less about climate change mitigation and show less willingness to take responsibility for future generations? Okay, and then the literature on this topic, let's see, there are three literature. The first one is about the predictive power of patients. Usually they are measured with the money earlier or later, and on real world outcomes such as cognitive ability, health, or criminal behavior. They usually find that a link between these two. So that is um, people who are impatient, they are positively correlated with let's see lower cognitive ability or worse health or even some criminal behavior. The second literature is about how individual discount rates affect environmental decision making. So some literature, they find that people who have a higher discount rate, they tend to don't they don't invest in those let's see energy efficient technologies. So because if you discount future benefit more, then you don't want to invest today. Okay, so uh, they find there is a link between the individual discount rate and the environment decision making, or investment in environmental uh, saving technology. The third literature, um, the third literature is about the future design literature. So yeah, I think audience in this workshop, I think we are very familiar with this literature. Okay, such as Professor Saju's work in this using the imagined future generation. Okay. So they use this method to help increase people's concern for future generation. And in our project, we designed an online experiment with 1,157 participants in China, nationwide. And we elicit participants' time preferences using money or earlier or later, which is a very common method in experimental economics. And then we have 3 treatment groups. One is called the forward and backward. This is yeah, I think this is the borrowed from the literature. And the second is treatment group is imaginary trip to the future. So that is we ask the participants to imagine that they are taking a time machine, they are boarding a time machine to the future, and then come back to the present and make a decision. A third treatment is a letter to the future generation. So we ask the participants to write a letter, okay, to their children who live in the future about the climate change risk and what they have done to mitigate climate change. And then we have a control group. And then finally, we survey the participants' intergenerational attitudes on climate change. So we find that more impatient individuals are associated with a significantly less willingness to assume responsibility for addressing climate change on behalf of future generations. And we also find that more impatient individuals they report lower willingness to engage in mitigation actions. Okay, here's our experimental design. I just introduced. We have 3 treatment groups: FAB and ITF and LFG. And we did a pilot study and power analysis to calculate the sample size. Our experimental procedure is as follows. Firstly, when the participants they open the online link for the survey or the experiment, they are going to see a consent form. So after the consent to the experiment, then they are going to see the background information about climate change. And this is a short video about 2 minutes made by the China's the government, the National Weather Agency. It's background information about what is climate change, what causes it, and what's the consequence of climate change. And then there is the treatment. Okay, for each of the treatment groups, they get their respective treatment. And after that, we introduced an NGO called the Institute for Public Environment, IPE. And then we introduced the participants that this NGO they have a climate change initiative, and they are asking for, let's see, and and then we asked them how much are going to donate to this NGO's climate change initiative. Okay, if you are winning a lottery of 100 RMB, 100 yuan, so how much are you willing to give to this NGO? And there is a real chance that is 1 out of 100 probability that they are going to win the lottery. So this is so we see this is incentive compatible, and this is not hypothetic. And then after the donation stage, then we elicit their discount rate, and then using money earlier or later. And then finally, we do a survey about the socioeconomic characteristics and climate attitudes. And our previous paper, we studied how the treatment affects the donation. And so this paper, we are going to focus on how the discount rate is going to affect the intergenerational attitudes on climate change. Okay, so on this project, I'm going to focus on the climate change attitude survey, and I have to acknowledge that this survey we borrowed from Professor Daiji Xiao, okay, in Taiwan, and so um, okay, so in total we have 14 questions, and we can classify them into, okay, 4 groups. The first group is about perceived threat of climate change. There are 2 questions. One is climate change is a major threat to the world. And second, climate change is a major threat to China. And the second group is scientific knowledge of climate change. And so basically this asks about some scientific facts, such as it's caused by human activities such as burning fossil fuels, or it will reduce the frequency of floods. Okay, so this is um, like a test question. Okay, and third, climate change will increase the frequency of droughts. 7, climate change will cause sea levels to rise. 8, climate change will lead to shorter heat waves. This question 8 is also tricky. And the third group is policy support and behavior intention. So question 4 is, it is not important to take action to mitigate climate change. Question 9, I'm willing to pay to reduce or reduce my consumption to mitigate climate change. The fourth group is future orientation and intergenerational responsibility. So such as question 10, climate change will harm the health and well-being of future generations. Question 11, the current generation should not worry about protecting the environment. Future generations should. Question 12, intergenerational equity is an important consideration in formulating climate change policies. Question 13, I'm willing to pay money or to support actions that mitigate climate change, even if the benefits are received by future generations. Last one, I prefer enjoying the present rather than spending a lot of time worrying about future. And so this is a summary of the distribution of climate change attitude. So you can see Q1 and Q2, most people, they agree that climate change is a threat to the world and China. And question 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, those are climate change facts. I think most of people, they know the scientific facts. And for the intergenerational attitude, I think overall, I think they agree that we should consider for the future generation. And here is a table for the discount rate elicitation. So we have, okay, in total we have 20 choices. So in each choice they face 2 options. Option A is you are going to receive 100 yuan after 1 week, or option 2, you are going to receive 101 yuan after 1 month. So that's option B. So you have to choose between A or B. So in this way, if you choose, let's see, you choose 100 yuan, okay, for 1, 2, 3, and then if the amount is large enough, okay, after 1 month, you are going to switch, for example, to 108. So then we see that so we can see like your discount rate is around 8 yuan for like 3 weeks. You need 8 yuan more to wait for 3 weeks. So we can calculate your discount rate using the present value method. This is the descriptive statistics of the socioeconomic characteristics. So we can see the gender overall, I think, is balanced. And for the age, the mean is 32. So the internet participants, they are usually younger. And education, on average, they have a college degree. Income, so yeah, college level income. They have, I think most of them have a kid. For the news, that's whether they pay attention to environmental news. Our empirical model is a simple ordered probability model. Yeah, because because participants have to choose from among 1 to until 7. So this is an ordered ranking. So we use ordered probability model, and the phi is a cumulative distribution function. And impatience, so this is calculated from our money earlier or later method. So and x, the vector x is a vector for control variables such as their age, gender, and so on. So for using this model, we can estimate the beta, which measures how impatience is going to affect people's ranking on their climate change attitude. Okay, here is our results. So basically, for group 1, that is the climate threat, we don't find a significant effect of impatience on the people's climate change perceived or climate change threat. And also similarly for the scientific logic of climate change, we don't find a significant effect of impatience on those facts. So okay, here I present the third group, the perceived support and behavior intervention. So we find Q4, and for Q4 impatience, okay, increases people's ranking. So let's see, Q4 is if I go back to the previous slides. So Q4 means it is not important to take action to mitigate climate change. So we can see impatient people, they tend to agree with this statement. So yeah, so we find evidence that impatience is going to affect people's climate change action. And also find gender, there's a gender effect. Okay, so gender is also going to affect people's um, support for climate change policy. And also the environmental news, if people pay attention to the environmental news, so they don't agree with this statement, so that makes sense. And then this is the last group, so the future orientation and intergenerational attitude. So we find that for Q11, impatience is positively related to the agreement on Q11, which is um, I think is current generation should not worry about future generation about climate change, but future generation should. So this so that means impatient people, they don't want to worry about change, but leave it to the future generation. And for Q14, this is also positive. And Q14 is I prefer to enjoy the present rather than worrying about the future. So yeah, so impatient people, they tend to focus on the present rather than worrying about the future consequence. So similarly, we find that people who have a kid, we have a significant positive effect on Q2, Q10, and negative effect on Q14. So that makes sense. So people who have a kid, so they focus more on the future generation. Okay, and in environmental news also, they all have the intuitive result. Okay, I think let's see. Let me. I almost finished. Here's a robustness check. So we are using different methods to measure the impatience, such as now we just use a switch point. Okay, from A to B, and the result is similar. And so let me conclude. So in this project, so we find that more impatient individuals, they are associated with significantly less willingness to assume responsibility for addressing climate change on behalf of future generations. In addition, more impatient individuals report lower willingness to engage in mitigation actions. That's all. Okay, our limitations. So first of all, there can be a gap between people's attitudes and actual behavior. And secondly, the study shows a correlation rather than a causal relation. Third, a critique of the MEL is that it is associated with people's risk and trust level. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your attention. And yeah, this is the first time I present this paper. So any comments and suggestions are welcome.